Good morning, monsters, and welcome to today's episode of Monsters on the Edge. Thank you guys all for joining us. We have a good show here today. I'm excited for talking to my guest. He's got some big things going on and wants to share them with you. But first, we have a brand new subscriber here on Untold Radio Network. Helton, aka Faster Man, is a member of the YouTube club here on Here's How You Can Be Too.
Hey Untold Radio Network fans, want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a member here and on the Untold Radio Network. Guys, if you have not checked out what we do here at Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society, my team, go check us out on YouTube. Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, spirits, and the metaphysical? How about Mothman, Bigfoot, and other cryptids? What about UFOs, UAPs, and other anomalous phenomenon? Then you need to check out Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. We have all that and more. Watch our series, Caps Road Trip, where we travel across the U.S. in search of these phenomena and bring you not only the history of these locations, events, and encounters, but evidence that we capture along the way. Alongside our team of researchers and investigators, you never know who will be joining in on the investigations. Are you interested in Bigfoot in Upper Michigan? Check out Finding Hyden, a series documenting the Sasquatch activity on a very special 80-acre property just outside of Menominee that has been a hotspot since 2012. Want even more? Check out our podcasts. Whispers from the Dark is the official podcast of Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society and brings you interviews with the top names in the field of paranormal to cryptids and more. Hear witnesses' accounts and go in-depth with the CAPS team to hear more about our ongoing research. Are you more into cryptids? Find links to our all-cryptid show, Monsters on the Edge, on the Untold Radio Network. If you're into spooky, subscribe now and you won't miss a minute of our brand new series coming soon, Spirits of Macville. Follow along as we uncover the haunted history dating back to 1877 of a very well-known location you may have never guessed would be haunted. Head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button and you won't miss a minute. Awesome, guys. If you guys aren't checking out the Wisconsin Caps Facebook and YouTube page, go check that out. And if you guys want to get all your merchandise for our stuff, you can head on over to wisconsincaps.com, click on Shop Our Store, and you can get t-shirts and hoodies and magnets and pins and mugs and everything with all of our logos on and show your support for Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. While you're online, head on over to all of our social media platforms at Patreon, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube at Wisconsin Caps or WI Caps on Instagram. Coming up, guys, it is our last big event of this year. We are going to be at CryptidCon in Lexington, Kentucky, November 18th and 19th. It's a great time. There's going to be a lot of cool people there, including possibly my guest today. And that brings us to my guest. My guest today is Stefan Barcelo. He worked as a journalist and a photojournalist and a videographer for the New York Daily News for 10 years. Alongside celebrity and crime coverage, he also produced some paranormal documentaries for the Daily News, during which one of them he discovered a remarkable piece of evidence of a ghost cat. After leaving the Daily News and moving to North Carolina, he was unable to ignore the unusual activity in his new home and throughout the town. The activity, along with his interest in the paranormal and cryptids, prompted him to opening the Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum in Littleton, North Carolina. And he was commissioner and mayor of Littleton, North Carolina, a small North Carolina town. And, oops, gotta go button here. And that brings us to our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you been?
I am doing well. I am very busy and always stuff going on, as you know, man. It's awesome to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I'm excited. Last time I talked to you was at Crypticon. I believe that was 3 years ago or 2.
Last year.
That was last year. Time goes by.
It's been a long year.
That's funny.
Awesome. So you're on today's show, man. We got a lot to talk about, but right away, I wanna get into what you got going on here. We got a link that we're gonna share. It's in the show notes, and it's in the we're gonna pop it up here in the comments section right now, wherever you're listening and watching. And that is for a GoFundMe. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Tell us about your museum, and tell us what the GoFundMe is for.
Sure. Well, the museum's been around almost 10 years. We were closed for a while because of COVID, but we had started out of the front of the house I lived in, this old historic house. So it was just 250 square feet. It was pretty small, but it was very popular. We've been on MTV, Travel Channel, NPR, all the local stuff. And primarily for the Bigfoot sightings in the area, which is how I really got involved, and that's how it all kind of started. Like I've said, I've always had an interest in these things, but the bottom line is we had to shut for COVID. At that time, I was elected officer in town, so I was busy with the town, helping move the town forward. We've had a lot of investors come in, people developing the school. We have a brewery coming in, a bistro, coffee shop, just lots of stuff. And along with that, one of the guys was able to find a new building for me. I wanted to move along. Actually, I kind of found the building. He just bought it. And that's how we ended up in this building. Once we got into the building, I got the keys and started working on it. I resigned from politics, and 5 years of that was enough, trust me. And so at that point, we were working on here, and I was renting with the option to buy down the road. Well, now he's decided he needs to sell it for whatever reason. That's, personal business, whatever. But it puts us between a rock and a hard spot. And so right now we're not in a position to buy the building. So we're doing what we can to work a deal out, see if we can collect some funds, or the next case would be I actually have to move and just move again and pay rent somewhere else, which I'm not thrilled about, but we'll do what we have to do. And the worst case scenario would be if we actually put things in storage for a little bit. And one of the options I was talking with my intern about is possibly going on the road and doing kind of the traveling museum for a while until we can get back to a brick and mortar establishment, which kind of stinks that we've had one for basically 10 years. And now that we survived COVID, and now we have this issue here. But I've talked to a lot of people, and unfortunately, this is not a uncommon thing. Actually, I've talked to 2 other museum owners that are going through something very similar. So, but that's kind of why we're in a bad spot. I hate doing the GoFundMe, but we're just trying to get enough money up. Now, of course, we're going into the slow season too. Especially after October, it's really going to drop off. And so right now we're just trying to survive and see what we can do. Now, I don't know how much longer we've got here. There's no time. No one's given me a date or anything at this point. So hopefully we're still here for at least another 3 months or so, which will get us through where we can start getting some stuff together. And I'm trying to sit down and negotiate and figure out what we're going to do here. But we're kind of in limbo, which we just did a mural on the building. We've done a lot of work. The building here is 3,700 square feet. The room you see me in the background here is my little office, like little studio, which, as you saw, I was like scrambling. So I haven't used it lately. I've been on the road as much as I have. But a lot of the work we're doing in the building, we just stopped doing right now because I don't want to invest more capital into a building that I might be just walking out of here. building rooms, and, we were doing wiring, just a lot of work. So that's kind of what happened. There's nothing that we foresaw coming, and if I did, obviously it would have changed my plans. I thought we were going to be good here for years to come. Just pay rent.
Yeah. That's terrible. Unfortunately, you hear a lot of stories, like you said, about stuff like this happening to museums and that,
Yep.
it's tough because, with the internet and YouTube and stuff, a lot of people just don't hit these local stops and that. And,
Right.
they don't go out and tour it because you can sit and look at all this stuff right from your computer. But can you tell us a little bit about what you got in the museum? Like, what are some of the displays and your main exhibits and stuff?
The main draw for us here is because of the cryptic sightings, the Bigfoot sightings in the air, which go back well over 100 years. Just south of us is Medoc Mountain State Park, and that's a hotbed. But it's the whole area. We've had multiple sightings right in the town of Littleton. Actually, we had a sighting right across the street. I'll have to send you that link too. And that was Jesse Walker, retired school teacher, had a sighting. I guess that was like 3 years ago now. And it's a little yellow house. You can literally see out the front door of the museum. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He's not a Bigfoot guy. He was putting something in his garbage can in the backyard. Him and his lady friend were going over to a local diner to get something to eat. And he sees this creature in the woods behind his house. Freaks out, runs to the car. She finally gets at him, what he's horrified about. Drives into my house. Now, this is during COVID. So I'm commissioner, mayor at the time. I might not have been mayor at the time. I might have just been commissioner. And basically goes to the house, which is closed for COVID. And I hear commotion out there, and some of my dogs are barking. I go out front, and there's Jesse Walker out front, and he's crying. I go, Jesse, what is the matter? I'm thinking his cat got run over or something. Little town, you end up doing everything. And so he goes, I saw Bigfoot. And look at him like, you messing with me? So I bring him in. He's literally obviously rattled. I got my daughter, who happened to be over that day, come forward just to be with me and kind of help me just hold the phone. I just filmed it off the phone. I wasn't about to set up a camera or anything. And we interviewed him. He cries through the interview. He was horrified. Reached out to a local newspaper. They came down, a guy who's into this stuff. He interviews him. By now, he's a little more calm. He's still rattled. We went back. We reenacted it at the house. So this just went down 20, 30 minutes before we went back to the house. And we set him up, showed us where he was by the corner of the house where the garbage cans are. And then I went out and I played Bigfoot by the tree. And then, he basically said it was kind of hunched over, dark fur, kind of the stereotypical thing that people see around here. And going by what he was judging on me, he felt it was like somewhere between 1.5 feet to 2 feet taller, but hunched. So we're guessing somewhere in the 7 to 8 foot range. And the weird thing about this now, after, of course, this was huge, just went, it just ran everywhere. It was amazing how, and especially him just being kind of an older gentleman with jet black dyed hair. Everyone, there were jokes on the web going on. Look, he was so horrified it scared his hair black. Things picking on poor Jesse. But the woman that owned the house that used to run a little shop in town, she doesn't want me to use her name, but he was renting the house from her. When she came out after all this, like about a month or so later, and I was talking to her, and she said, don't you remember I was telling you I was feeding that thing? I said, I thought we had some homeless people in town at the time. I thought she was feeding a homeless person because she had a shop that did like pop-up dinners, and she would put the food out in the woods, which in my mind at the time, I'm going like, I'm trying not to encourage her to do this sort of stuff. And then she explains to me, no, it was this creature. So I showed her where, I reenacted by these trees in the woods there. And she starts kicking through the leaves, and in there comes up this blue tub, like almost like a cat pan. And she goes, that's what I used to put the food in. So maybe this thing saw him come out with this bag of garbage and thought it was food. Who knows? But it's just like one thing leads to the next thing. And that's what happened in this town, interviewing people. It was just sighting after sighting. And most of these people are not people that wanted to talk to anybody. But once one kind of leaked it to me and another one mentioned someone else had this, and a lot of people wouldn't come forward. And a lot of them that did later told me they wish they never talked to me because once it got published, they got harassed and picked on and stuff. But inadvertently, it turned the town around. And we have, a Mexican place has a Bigfoot burrito challenge. We had another place that was doing a Bigfoot burger for a while. There was a couple of Airbnbs have Bigfoot themed rooms and paranormal rooms. So it's kind of like, it's something that's been here for well over 100 years. I did take advantage of it and started, once I realized what it was. And I love this stuff. I couldn't walk away from it, I should say. And but it's been story after story. Unfortunately, during COVID, we lost a couple of elderly people. And I can't say for sure that COVID what's got them, but that was a period when they passed away that were just amazing. And some of the stories they had were just, and thank God I had them they came to the festivals and they are recorded. So all that stuff's on my YouTube channel. But it was just, I was blown away. Oh, but let me go in more of the museum. So, sorry, I won't kind of.
No,
I do this.
okay.
I'm so used to telling stories at the museum.
I want to point out, you
stuff
said that this happened basically right across the street from your museum.
Yeah, the Jesse Walker sighting was right across the street.
Yeah.
So that's why, it wasn't why I wanted this building. It was just the building that was convenient and came up, and the price was right as far as rent. But basically, it was convenient for that. Then we found that there was paranormal activity in the building, which I wasn't expecting. And the building itself was a church for a while. It was a honky-tonk. It was a laundromat. It was a mattress store. It was a car dealership. It was the back here, my office is a separate address. That was a takeout barbecue. I mean, and God knows what else we'll find out as time goes along. But we get the voice of a little girl in here. The SLS cameras picked up a small figure that interacts with us in real time. So if I walk into the frame with the SLS camera, it will get up and walk away. I'll back off and it comes back over. It will sit back on like a stool or whatever it's at. So it's not like it's mapping something on the wall or anything like that. We get lots of voices here. I did a live feed on one of the iPhones one time. I'm in my office here around 11 o'clock at night, and I'm editing up some video. And I'm hearing all this banging. So I'm on the phone. I can literally go to the security system. So I get cameras inside and out. So it's like someone trying to get in. I mean, everyone knows I'm here. I mean, and I don't see anyone outside. I don't see anyone in. So I go out there and I'm hearing this banging and stuff. So I literally end up going live. And I did it for about an hour and a half. And then and I'm back here still working, but watching it on one of the laptops. And I went back in the other room. I said, "You guys want to keep this going?" They go, "This is crazy." And I let it go for 7 hours. I had to go plug a cord in so my phone wouldn't go dead. But we ended up letting that. So that's available on the live feeds on the YouTube channel too. So I mean, the whole neighborhood's got activity. The cryptozoology stuff is huge. Now I did a couple of documentaries for the Daily News up in like Whitehall, New York, on Bigfoot, and most of the sightings are back in the 70s, and that's pretty common. You get a couple of little blips here, and people think they saw something here and there. But down here, I mean, we're getting massive sightings, just like, the thermal image I showed you. That's one of the ones I caught here, and that was 2 years ago. I mean, like everybody in the group, so many people come forward, and most people don't want to talk on camera. I'm talking deputy sheriffs, local politicians, town lawyers. I mean, you'd be amazed at people who, reputable people who had sightings. And a very common thing that comes in here, people will come in and you can kind of almost see it in their eyes. They kind of like, they've seen me on TV or see me on the local news and stuff. And they want to talk to me, and they'll kind of get me to the side and go, "Listen, I need to talk to you." And that's nice about having a building this size. I can actually take them into another room, especially if I have someone working. And they'll tell me, "Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I've been married, 27 years. I've never told my wife," and go on about a story something they saw when they were hunting when they were younger or fishing with their buddy or something. And this is why I never go in the woods anymore. It's just story after story. And and like I said, these people, there's no money. It's hard. There's no money in running a museum, let alone being the guy that tells the story. And so, I mean, it's just blew me away. And, being a journalist, I'm pretty good at getting a feel from someone when they're being, legit. And you can tell when someone's in here just to kind of, pull your finger and just be an idiot, just, tell you some story and stuff. And but we've become that place where people want to come in and tell us about their UFO experience, the haunting in their house as a child, or we get people to come in and talk to us about, my daughter and the kids, and her kids just moved into a new house and they're having activity. And they basically looking to vent. And I'll ask them, I say, "Is there anything you want us to do? I mean, you want us to go there?" "Oh, no. So I'll just tell them, common sense things like try smudging this, give them the kind of basic stuff to do. But it's been, super popular. Unfortunately, like I said, after October, it starts to die off. So this is the time of the year we try to do more events, do Bigfoot 101s. Like we have the back room we're still working on. We're going to have more keynote speakers come in. Now we do our own conventions. The last one we had was April 15th. And it was really great. And we actually had this big screen. They redid the old Lakeland Cultural Arts Center. So it's like the old movie screens, old farts like me grew up with these massive screens. So we shot a lot of videos, as many people as we could. So this way, the house lights would come down, the video would start. In mine, I had mixed in, the PBS, Travel Channel, all that sort of stuff mixed in there. And then me talking in between and showing evidence. And then the house lights would come out, and you come out and do your Q&A. And it really worked out nice. And the place is just beautiful. Plus, they have the concessions, sold beer and wine, and pizza, and all that sort of stuff. So we're still going to do those no matter where we are. And of course, we do our YouTube channel too and try to get out as much as we can. But besides that, having the Bigfoot stuff, like I said, is the main presence. We do have paranormal stuff in here. We have a lot of haunted dolls, a rocking chair that rocks, a lot of different items, a divot box. I mean, a lot of things have been donated us over the years. The UFO section is kind of small. That was one of the things we were working on next, is that we were creating this like separate room, which would have been, I guess, 20 by 12 kind of alcove. And that was going to be all the UFO stuff in there. And we're going to start kind of like with Roswell on one wall, go into Bob Lazar, go into, just all these different things. We have some good UFO stories here in South Hill, Craft Landing in South Hill, Virginia, which is just above us. Obviously incorporate that in, and then go into the new stuff that's happening with Congress now, just kind of, so we can update things as we go through. And some of the few items I don't have a lot of great UFO props, but I can show radiation detectors that they used at the time and things of that sort. And we have some really cool statues and things of that. But right now, because of the situation, a lot of that's on hold. I mean, I just do not want to put thousands and thousands of dollars of labor and material into a place that I have to get out, pack up. I mean, so. We're looking at I'm shopping for like Connex boxes. It's the last thing in the world I want to be worried about. What's the storage unit going to cost? And I'm looking at even other things, like if the worst case scenario, if we have to shut down and go and literally put things in storage, but I got to be prepared in case that happens. I mean, I'm even looking at like buying the school buses have gotten very reasonable now because of diesel prices being up, and I think a lot of people bought them because of COVID and they didn't do them or partially renovate them. So we're looking at that, possibly having like a traveling museum, and then I can always pull a trailer too and have stuff that I can bring in. Like a lot of the cons, people have like a little museum. They'll set up like a 10 by 20 booth and have a little bit of stuff there. And a lot of these places you see at these paranormal shows, they don't have a brick and mortar museum. That's all they have is just they're kind of a road show. And no matter what, I want to get back to having a brick and mortar museum. Hopefully we can stay here. That's the optimum thing. Work something out, bring in some money, and but otherwise, second would be move to another location. Hopefully, as good or maybe better if we're lucky. Then worst case scenario would be which is not terrible, but would be kind of taking the show on the road. But we might be to do some combination of both, which would be perfect if we can do that.
Awesome.
Did I answer your questions? I'm all over the place.
that was a lot of information there, man. One thing you didn't say, though, is you keep bringing up your YouTube channel. What is your YouTube channel?
It's terrible. It's just under my name, Stephen Barcelo. So STEPHEN BARCELO. And that goes back to me just having a YouTube channel when I was a journalist, which I would post like low resolution interviews of like Billy Joel, Madonna, things like that I did in the Hamptons. And back then I had a whole whopping 36 or 37 subscribers, like family members and friends. It just kind of, when I got a chance, I'd post some of my more unique things I thought people get a kick out of. And then when I got down here, started doing the museum over at the house, I started getting more media attention, and I got a phone call from a guy. He calls up. We get a lot of YouTubers. As a matter of fact, we just had some in this morning, just before I had to get on with you. They came in early, and they were filming. And I get this call from this guy, and he goes, "I'm a YouTuber and stuff." And that'll turn away anybody. I mean, I was a journalist. I know, there's no such thing as bad press. I mean, some people try to make you look like an idiot, but you can usually, work around it. But this guy calls me, says, "I'm a YouTuber. I got a pretty good following. I have a friend of mine. He's going to come too." I say, yeah, whatever. But it turns out this guy's Omar Gosh. And he shows up with his buddy Fave. And I didn't know who he was. And they come in, they're live. They walk in my museum, they're going live. Turns out at the time, I think he had well over 3 million subscribers. I think he's like 6 million now. And I know Fave's out. He's up there too. And but they were great. So I mean, he talked about my YouTube channel and said like I had like nothing up, kind of picked on me. But he was there for this, basically do the museum. He wanted to come back and actually do some Bigfooting with us. So Omar, if you're listening, you're Fave, come on back. Let's go do it. We could use the hit right now. We could do all the publicity to help us out. And but it was funny. After that, it was a couple of weeks later. I don't remember how long it took him to publish the video. And I get this thing from YouTube. Congratulations, you broke 100 subscribers. Next day, congratulations, you broke 500 subscribers. I'm going, holy jeez, So I said, I got to take advantage of it. And that's when I started really looking into doing real YouTubing. Just becoming an influencer and really trying to get out there. And I was able to get monetized pretty quick. And then, of course, COVID coming too helped because everyone was stuck home. And I think we all had better numbers during COVID. And then right after COVID, the viewership slowed down, of course. But thanks to Omar and Faye coming in, it's the only reason I was able to quickly get into the monetize and get the YouTube channel up and going. But that's why it's just my name. It doesn't say crypto or this or that. It was just because people are looking me up. It was just kind of a personal thing. And there's still a mix in there. If you go back far enough, you'll see some Billy Joel interviews and some other stuff I have up in there. Celebrity and crime, a lot of press conferences, things of that sort.
Very cool. We talked about, I had met you last year at CryptidCon. It was just
Yep.
last year. And we were talking about some of the other events and stuff that you have at the museum. You said that you do like paranormal investigations for people to come in and do that. And you
Right.
also take people out on Bigfoot hikes and expeditions. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. A lot of the paranormal stuff, we're doing it more at the building here right now, but we are still taking people out to the local park, and we have another gentleman who's bought a bunch of property. He's called it Sasquatch Ranch, and he wants us to go out and start taking people to his property too. So so we have other things we're trying to get going. After COVID, a lot of the properties we were accessing were run by like the Women's Club, or there's an older lady around the corner, a friend of mine, and she has the old dollhouse, which we're going to go shoot a video on soon, but she doesn't want the public back in because she got COVID twice herself, and she's in her 90s. And so a lot of people just kind of turned off having the public in, even though they were getting money out of it. Whatever we brought in, we just split with them. And then I would get stuck doing like maintenance and spraying for bugs and all that kind of stuff too, mowing the lawn, whatever, the things you have to do in a small town. But once COVID shut down for 2.5 years, we had to literally reinvent ourselves. We're still doing that on the ghost hunting, but this building works pretty well. Like I said, we get good activity here. And you can see some of those, not just the live ones, a lot of paranormal groups. Now, on the Bigfooting end, we still take people out. We go out with parabolic dishes, thermal cameras, and we've gotten amazing stuff. And we're trying to now's the time of the year to do it. We need to get back out there because now the leaves are falling out of the trees. I was out there with 3 of the guys, two of the guys and myself, and one of my interns and her friend went out, and she's never been out Bigfooting before. We went to Medoc Mountain State Park, and it was hot. It was miserable. We had our headlamps on, a million bugs flying around. We didn't really get much that night, but that's the nature of the beast doing any of this stuff. And we did get chiggers. We all got chiggers. So that's one of the things you want to get out. This time of the year, it's much nicer. You're not finding those, you're out in the dark and you have a headlamp on. We go dark. We'll shut everything down. That's when, obviously with the thermal cameras. But, you walk through one of those big spider webs, and there's a spider somewhere on you. Kind of freaks you out. So you send one of the big guys out front. You walk first,
Mm-hmm.
Give him a stick. But we're still doing that. We're going out. Medoc is actually another location that we've gotten. I should have sent that to you too. If you go on my site, you can see it. I got a Confederate soldier out there. There's a lot of different graves around the mountain. And the mountain's not a huge mountain like you expect to see, kind of, over in Brown Mountains and stuff like that up in the mountain areas of North Carolina. It's really a defunct volcano. So when you walk it feels like a mountain, but it's not massive by any means. But it's they did a lot of gold mining there, so there's a lot of cool geology, a lot of really cool rocks. People come up there just for that stuff. They have what they call the dams, but they're really sleuths that were set up for the gold mining. But a lot of people were buried there. Then you had a lot of the indigenous tribes that lived there, so they were buried around the area. So we've actually set up equipment for basically doing Bigfooting. We haven't got a lot of great luck with the game cameras, but we've done very well with just recorders and, of course, the thermal cameras. And but we've gone out there, we play back the recorders and audio, and we get it sounds like chanting out in the woods. And this is like 2 o'clock in the morning, or you get this kind of creepy voice. And of course, then there's a normal tree knocks you get. And we, Johnny, one of the guys in our group's great at that. He's forever out there putting out stuff. Matter of fact, I was just out with one of the last videos I did out with George, and we just George set a bunch of equipment up there. We're not. It's actually the same location where I got my that Bigfoot, that thermal image I sent you. And so basically we're trying to cover that area real well. But we don't want to tell people where the equipment is, because a couple of times we've had idiots go out there and mess with things. So we a lot of times we'll set up hit multiple spots too, just to play it safe, so we can see if someone's even coming into the area. And that's one of the downfalls you have when you publicize a place and you start putting the information out. It starts to, there's a couple of parks in North Carolina, which you can't even Bigfoot there anymore. I mean, you knock on one side of a mountain, 6 people knock back on the other side. I mean, it's out of control. You know? And URIs like that. URIs kind of become a problem. If you hear a dog barking in the background, it's my rescue dog in the front of the museum. Someone must have come in. But yeah, it's kind of been nuts. I mean, I've kind of enjoyed it. This is the last thing in the world I thought I'd do in semi-retirement, is come down here, and let alone get stuck being a town commissioner, mayor, which don't pay. And but life moves on. Now I'm going to have to obviously switch gears and reinvent myself again. Matter of fact, last time I saw you at Crypticon, I was over there with MetaZoom, Mike Waddell and them. And they came out to our convention. Texas Ted came out, and we took him out. There was actually a sighting the day before our convention, traveling into Medoc Mountain State Park. And it was one of the guys in our group, so we did not want to talk about it. And it was kind of funny. We're kind of bouncing around. Johnny was the guy that had the sighting. And they go like, Johnny, when was your last sighting? He kind of looks over and goes, I'll let George take that question. Because we didn't want to say that we just had a sighting the day before. It would look so suspect. But anyway, it was raining on and off that day. So at the end of the convention, we packed up. And then we brought a bunch of people back to the museum because people wanted to pick up stuff that we just didn't have there, and they wanted to see the museum. It was good for us doing some extra sales, and then some guys wanted to go get pizza, and it was kind of like just everyone running around. But then we went back out to the park, and I wanted to take Ted out there because he'd never been Bigfooty before. We actually found prints in the rain. They were literally disappearing before our eyes. I mean, so who was out there with naked feet? And a cool thing we did, we went back to the campsite. We actually busted packs, which is kind of unique. If any guys into the TCGs, you get these booster packs, and you literally rip them out, open, and see what cards you got. And Ted went through the cards, explaining what they were and stuff. So that was pretty cool, a pretty fun way to actually, on a Bigfoot expedition, actually breaking open MetaZoo packs too. So, but Mike wants to bring the crew out. They want to bring out some of the guys and some of the artists and stuff, because these are people that are actually doing the artwork. They're living in kind of the fantasy world part of it. And he'd like them to come out and actually do the real paranormal investigations, actually go out and do some Bigfooting. So we're supposed to be setting up for that too. And like I said, now's the time of the year I need to reach back out and figure out who they want to send, what and when, and we'll work things out with that. But I love it. I like getting out there, showing people how things work, and just the common sense do's and don'ts. That's why we do Bigfooting 101s here, because we've had people come out that just don't have a heck of a lot of common sense when it comes to just hiking out there. Things to not do, like simple things. Now we have bear, we have coyotes, we have wild pigs around here. There's all kinds of stuff. You have poisonous snakes, spiders. But we tell people, if something comes up, an animal comes up, do not run. Stay with us. Stay behind us. We'll protect you, and we'll make sure. And then the animals generally just avoid us like you wouldn't believe. So we've never really had an issue. But just common sense things too, and just don't bang a tree when someone's got their headphones on in a parabolic dish. You're gonna knock knock their eardrums out. And it's just, but we have to go through it. It's kind of funny. We brought people out, and by the second time they come out, they're like almost cocky, like out hustling the trail. Go like, slow down. You still got to look at your feet. You still got to look for snakes and holes and roots. So it's kind of fun to teach people and show them the do's and don'ts. And we prefer they don't carry guns. That's another thing. Please, if anyone carries, it'll be us. Otherwise, if you need to carry something, we'll get bear spray. We'll show you, even show you the proper way to use bear spray, things like that. But people love it. I mean, it's kind of, and nothing like taking somebody out and they have something happens. They hear something in the distance, or we found prints on multiple of these things, and areas like we can't even get to across the fishing creek. And it's just amazing stuff, and people love it. So it's been very popular thing.
Awesome. We have to take a really quick 30-second break here for station identification on the Untold Radio Network. And then I want to get into the picture that you sent me here of the Bigfoot that you've been bringing up all show, and we can talk all about the thermal that you got.
Sounds great.
All right, we will be right back after this really quick break.
Show your support for the Untold Radio Network family of shows and join in on the conversation by using super stickers and super chats on YouTube. Got a question you want answered? Ask it live via a super chat and get real-time responses from our show's knowledgeable hosts and guests. Help keep the Untold Radio Network shows running strong. We need your support. Send your super chats and stickers now.
All right, guys, we are back on the Untold Radio Network here on Monsters on the Edge. My guest is Stefan Barcelo, and he is the curator of the Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum. I'm trying to read it off the thing here, and it's backwards. Cryptozoology Paranormal Museum, Littleton, North Carolina. And they're having some issues with the building, possibly getting sold or not being able to rent it anymore, and looking at different options and stuff. And they got a GoFundMe. You can check it out in the show notes or in the chats if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. It's right there in the comments section. So if you guys can help them out, anything will help. And whatever they decide is going to be the best route, whether at a new building or a traveling show for a little while or what have you, anything will be great for these guys down there. So if you can help them out, that would be great. Now, you sent me this picture, and it is a thermal image, and this thing is pretty cool. Can you let's talk about this? What do you got here?
Yeah, actually, this was interesting because we've, like I said, we get a lot of activity. This is Medoc Mountain State Park, and this is down off Bluff Loop. Now, the night I got this, we had a gentleman, Mr. Beaver, that claims they had about 3 weeks before, claims he had a group of 3 come into his campsite. He felt it was 2 large ones and a small one. And he actually could see he had a bug light set up outside his tent out there, which is kind of silly, kind of brings the bugs to you. But anyway, he felt maybe that drew them in, or the hum from it. And he had a parabolic dish himself. Didn't have a thermal camera, but he had a parabolic dish, and he could hear movement coming in. Now, he was in there for this. He was Bigfooting. And he felt they came into the campsite, and they got to the point where his had an octagon tent, which is roughly 6 foot tall. You can, I'm not a real big guy. I'm just under 6. I could stand in it. And he had a tarp wrapped around it. And this thing was so big, it bent over to look into his tent. And that's when he freaked out and started screaming. And these things quickly left his campsite. Well, he reaches out to me the next day. I went and interviewed him. He was obviously emotionally distressed. He didn't want to talk on camera. He just was talking to me. His daughter was there. He was so upset. His daughter came down and it was with him. And so, he didn't even want to talk in front of me and to me in front of her at the time. Well, I finally got him to come back and do the interview, and I got him to do it. And every time he told the story, it was 100%. He stayed right to the story, which was good. And he got kind of emotional with it every time. Well, he claims these things came in. So we finally got him. He was so rattled to come back, and he wouldn't stay by himself. So he stayed in our campsite. We had multiple sites, and we went out. We were there for 3 days camping, 3 days, 3 nights. And of course, I'm running back and forth and doing the museum too. But basically, at night, we go out there. The 3rd night, we had a gentleman come out, Rich from the Daily Herald, was going to do an interview on him. And he couldn't actually had to work all day. He was doing it for the paper, but he was doing this at night. So he didn't get out there to quite, I guess it was almost midnight. And so he met us at back at the campsite. We went back out again, and we just kind of.
He just kind of.
You there?
Oh, yep, there we are.
Okay, thanks. Someone just tried to call me. Of course, my buddy George, he knows I'm on his interview too. And but basically, so basically, we go out there. We have the reporter with us. We go back out on the trail, and he wants to interview this gentleman, Mr. Beaver. So they go down, and they're in a low spot, which I hate to be in. You want to be up high or on a bank or something. So they're down there. They have their headlamps on, and Mr. Beaver's telling his story, which now at this point I've heard dozens of times. So I said, you guys do what you got to do. I'm going to go back up the hill. The night before, we were getting some activity on this bluff, and I forgot my flare scope at the time. We have a bunch now, AGMs and everything. At the time, I only had the Scout. And so tonight I have it. And so I go back up there, and I got the parabolic dish, and all the way down there, I get in the woods, I can kind of see some light and hear a little bit of noise where they're doing the interview. But up above me with the parabolic dish, I'm hearing movement in the leaves. So I'm listening. So I pick up the scope, and in the distance, I can see something. It was in white hot mode. And I see something white hot moving. So I'm looking, I'm taking some pictures, and every once in a while, I can see it's upright. It's bipedal. So I'm going, hunter, camper, who the heck's at it? 2 o'clock in the morning or 1:30, whatever time it was at that point. I'd have to look at the information on the photo again to remember the exact time, but it's late. And I can see this thing moving across. I'm taking pictures, and after a while, I can see this thing is massive. It's well into the 8-foot range, maybe even 8.5 foot tall. And as you can see from the photo, look at the girth on it. Look at the bent legs. This thing has no clothes on. It's evenly lit. Thermal cameras easily show clothes. And another thing too, it has no headlamp. This is a moonless night. I mean, I'm trying to get pictures of it, and I don't think the thing was aware of me, or if it was, it seemed to not care. Now, this thing was up above me, walked across the hill there, and eventually, this is the one clean shot I got with no trees are in the way. There's no leaves this time of the year, but there was a lot of trees. And then eventually, I lost sight of it behind trees that went up, and it seemed to go back up and over the hill. So at this point, I get my phone, my headlamp's still off. I'm trying to text the guys down there, and the phones just don't work in the park. So I have to turn my headlamp on, go down the trail to them. I'm going, guys, look, you won't believe what I just caught up here. So they all stopped the interview now. They all come back up. And we stood there for about 20 minutes, dead quiet. All the headlamps out. Everyone's being good. And about good 20 minutes in, something comes crashing through the trees from up on the other side. It's possible the top of a tree just broke off then, but it seemed to be something thrown into our direction. And that, of course, just freaked everybody out. But that was it. Nothing else for the rest of the night. And then I couldn't wait to get back to the campsite because I wanted to put this, I don't know if you guys use the scopes. I mean, there's not much to do. I mean, the AGMs are great. They talk to the phones. You can actually see them in real time. I wanted to get this on my laptop and zoom in and see what I actually had there. But this was my Mona Lisa. This was a great catch. I was lucky to get it. And the damn flare scopes, I hate talking to windows. And I had such a hard time getting it to recognize it as like a jump drive and actually see the images, but I finally was able to get them off. So, I almost lost it, which really freaks me out. But we have these new scopes. AGMs are so much better. I wish I had those at the time. This would have been so much cleaner and so much more crisp. But that was a great catch. That was a crazy thing. Now, I'm not the only one that's caught things. Other things I don't have in this piece here. George has gotten the guy just trying to call me. George has gotten a weird portal thing. All the equipment went dead. I wasn't with him that night. It was some of the other guys, and they're all ex-cops and stuff. So they're into the body cams. And a couple of frames, they get this weird sort of like spider web thing, almost like someone shined a light directly at them, and it knocked out all their equipment. They had to shut everything down and reboot it, and things did come back up. But it's a hotbed. We get a lot of crazy activity through the area here. But that's basically the story behind that image there.
Wow. Yeah, you can definitely. That was my main thing looking at this picture is the width, the girth, as you said, of this thing. It's massive. Like that can't be a person, unless you got the legs there, you got the body, the width. I mean, that is a big creature, whatever that thing is.
I tell people after I show them the image, and I have some large photos printed out so they can look at it. And I tell them in the museum, try to walk across a carpeted floor with bent legs. It's almost impossible. Now try to do that in a forest at night. I mean, you'd kill yourself. You'd be tripping over, down trees, there's holes, there's roots. I mean, there's everything out there. I mean, so it was just amazing. This thing had no issue. It has to have the most amazing night vision to be to go out there and walk through that forest at night.
Wow. That is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
I appreciate you sharing that, man. That's really cool. Cool. So that's a really cool picture. Awesome. If you guys have any questions about North Carolina, Bigfoot, the museum, paranormal stuff going on there, get them in the comments. We're coming up on about 15 minutes left on the show here. And if you guys got anything for us, put it in the comments now. If you want to put it in all caps, it'll draw my attention a lot easier. But so when you take people out Bigfooting, do you guys charge? Do you do it pretty regularly, or how does that work?
We
information on the website?
When YouTubers or media, we don't charge. We bring them out because it's we doing the advertising factor and promoting the museum. But yeah, we do charge. We bring groups out there, and it depends on what they're doing. If they want to like a daytime thing, going out for a few hours, it's a minimum thing. We usually kind of look at it more as a donation to the museum. If it's going to be an overnighter, now we have to have campsites. So we have to rent campsites out. So there's that cost, which is roughly like $25 a site. And then I have guys that come out and help. So some of these guys have to drive in. So that, that starts to get into a little bit of money, but it's still nothing like some of these other groups that charge $300-400 per night. We try to keep it like about $100, $150, depends on what, basically we tell them like, this is our cost. We're adding this to it. And this way, everyone can compensate for their fuel and stuff. And then X amount goes to the museum. And just basically it's like throwing something in the donation box. But people love it. We try to get them out as much as we can. Like I said, we have a new location, new property we're just starting to use now. So we're going to start pushing that too. And we've got a few other places now that have reached out to us and looking for us to do some spots there. We tell people you can do this on your own. We advise them if you've never done it before, come out, even if you just do a daytime hike with us. Now we go out and do an overnighter. Obviously, they're going to be there during the day too, since you get the whole campsite. So we try to get them out on at least 2, maybe 3 hikes. And now walking around is great, but if you're just constantly walking and moving, the odds of you getting something is slim. So I like to do is try to go in the day or so before, and I bait the area with apples and stuff. And then we can get into an area. If it's a small group, is ideal. And if they're, somewhat know what they're doing, or, kind of pay attention, kind of be quiet and let's just sit for a while. Dead silent. If you have to spray yourself with spray to keep the bugs and stuff off you, like I said, winter is a lot easier. And you just, once you're out there for like about 45 minutes, an hour, you're quiet. That's when things start moving. That's when you start getting stuff. And I think we become more attuned too. We just kind of adjust there. And that's when we've gotten the best stuff. Like in this case here, when I got this thermal image, I literally walked away from everyone else, and I wasn't up on that bluff more than probably 20 minutes. And I heard movement. And I think, I don't think, like I said, I don't know. If it did know I was there, certainly didn't care. I just don't think it knew I was there. I think it was concentrating all the noise and light movement. It was down the hill for me, and it walked right past me, and that's how I got that one. But so we kind of use that as an example. But you have to entertain people too when you bring them out. So a lot of times you end up doing the tree knocks, and we have people that want to do the calls, which I don't do. But you get people that want to do that, and so But once you go out there, you make all this noise and do all this stuff. The odds you get into something are slim. I mean, once in a while we hear another knock in the distance. I've had better luck just using a whistle. Just it's like almost like a high-pitched dog whistle, and just blowing that once in a while. And and you get calls that this and that could be birds, some kind of bird that's responding, but just things of that sort. But baiting works for me. I've had better luck with that. I use apples primarily, older, softer apples that are better. We've gotten some interesting things out there as far as just. I'm not a big tree structure guy. I'm kind of skeptical of those. Some are interesting, but a lot of them I've seen are just like, first of all, they're too small for it doesn't make sense for what they are. I think it's more stuff that just way things are blown over. But we have found trees inverted. And one of the times I went out there, it's a YouTube video. I had this production company came out and wanted to do an interview of me at the museum. We're at the old museum. And they got there like 2 hours earlier. And everyone films me in front of this Bigfoot statue we have in the museum. That's common. And so I said, listen, why don't we go to the park? It's just 12 and a half miles from the museum. So I bring them down there, and we go out there, and we're walking through, and I'm bringing them to a place where somebody just had a sighting on an event. I'm not saying it was anything great. It was the most recent thing that we got out of there. And on the way walking in, now we're probably about 35, 40 minutes in on this trail. And I come across this turn, and I look over. I was just there like 4 days earlier. All these trees are snapped and twisted. I mean, some are 6 inches long, broken off. I mean, perfectly healthy trees. The canopy's still intact. Not all the trees are dead. I mean, down, but a lot of them are snapped and broken. The leaf litter is still intact. So it's not like it's a microburst or anything of that sort. It was just very strange. And as soon as you go across the trail that we're on, nothing's touched. It's almost like something was marking the territory or even had a temper tantrum. It was totally crazy. And they're filming me. They got 2-camera shoot. So I just kind of like wander off, and I took out my phone. I'm literally taking pictures, and I'm filming. I'm just going like, what the hell? I was just here. And one of the women, it was the camera woman. I don't remember her name, unfortunately. She comes over. I'm out there talking to this, the guy who kind of like filming. And she goes, guys, come over here. I'm not into this, but she's over by one of the trees. It was probably around, I think it was like a 4-inch tree at that point. It was snapped. And she's looking at the base. Now, you get, remember, there's leaf litter all throughout. She goes, does that look like a print to you? So I go over there, and this thing's massive. It's like a 20-inch print. So I move the leaf litter back, and you can see the impression. Now, we call them blob prints when they're on a lot of leaf litter. You're not going to get dermal ridges. You're not going to get really clean toes. It's more of an impression. But I said, holy geez, this is pretty impressive. And she's going, well, I was figuring something be standing by the tree and stuff. So anyway, so I tell him, I said, listen, I'm out there to be interviewed. I said, I have to go back to the car. I need to get my casting equipment. I said, do you want to come? Or, so they said they'll stay. So it's kind of funny. They're still filming. And later they tell me how they're freaked out because now I'm going to be gone for an hour and a half, hiking all the way back out, grabbing my equipment, hiking back in. And so while they're there, they're hearing noises in the distance. It sounds like something's snapping trees. Something's moving around through the leaf litter. So they're kind of freaked out. And kind of funny, when I saw the video later, they're actually whispering to each other. But while they were stuck out there, they found multiple more prints in the leaves. So now with this print was so big, I had enough to cast the one print without breaking. I got got that out in one piece, which is a miracle. And then the other one, I just had to cast and leave. an unfortunate rain that night, and one of the guys went back out to retrieve it, but it just kind of fell apart on him. So I have it in pieces, and that's in the back of the museum. I just never put it back together. But the one I have, the initial print is, we still got in the museum, and it's just massive. So, but yeah, we've gotten a lot of crazy stuff there. That was a good catch. I mean, the more I think back, there's been so many events and so many things that have happened. And it's not always me. Most of the time, someone calls me, like, someone else goes out there. We give them a map. We give maps to people in the park of the park and say, here are the hot spots, the most recent stuff. And these people text me, 2 hours later and go, like, I found this or I saw that. And these people are finding prints, and it's like, and people don't. It's not like I air when I'm going out there. Most of the time, it's just around when I'm free to get out. Say like, well, listen, I got nothing to do tonight. Maybe I'll run to the park for like 3 hours or so. And so nobody knows you go in there, and the park's massive. We hit different areas. So, and then nobody in their right mind's out there dressed in a ghillie suit or dressed in a Bigfoot costume, because it's North Carolina. Everybody's got a gun. I mean, there's a lot. We have people come in all the time into the museum. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to shoot me a Bigfoot. It's like, please bring the gun outside, But it's a hotbed. I mean, I was blown away, like I said, when I first started interviewing people here, and I still am. I still am amazed at the stories that come through, and the fact that it's just, becomes such a commonplace thing here.
That's awesome. That is awesome, man. People definitely got to come out and check this out and help you out. You charge admission to your museum, or is it free?
Yeah,
or
charging $5 for adults, kids 12 and under too. Most of the time, we just waive that. Want the kids to become and have fun and enjoy it. But we have a bunch of TVs up playing a lot of the stuff that we've been on, and then we have a lot of our stuff where I'm talking, explaining, and showing the Confederate soldiers, showing the Bigfoot, showing this, so people can kind of see things. And when we have busy times, like yesterday wasn't super busy, but Saturday we were packed. We were really packed in here, and so that's a good time of week, because you can only talk to so many people at a time, and so I can have they can multiple TVs they can look at. And that's one of the things we wanted the back room for, which we're going to use for keynote speakers and book authors, because we have the TV in the main room now was the room section I want to make into UFO, and that was going to be strictly UFO plan on that. We were going to have another section in the back, but right now I said that everything's on hold. I don't want to invest any more time and money into it until we know what's going on. I mean, if I throw another $5,000-$10,000 into building things right now, I'm going to probably finish up some of the wiring I'm doing in the back, just since the boxes are up. I'm just going to wire them up, and that's probably about it right now, until I know what's going on. And we have to save the money. That's why we need to bring some money in, so we're prepared to move and put a deposit down, start paying rent. I mean, if we can buy something for a reasonable price, we would do that too. But that's it's pretty costly to do, walking, especially now at the end of the season. Right now we spent some money at the end of the season just stocking up on the typical trinkets that a museum has. Coffee mugs, buttons, T-shirts, hats, stickers, Bigfoot cookie cutters. I mean, you name it. We got tons of stuff here. A lot of socks.
Do you have an online gift shop at all?
What's that?
Do you have an online gift shop?
We don't, unfortunately. It got shut down during COVID, and we just never started it up again. And that was really kind of my fault. And the problem was I just didn't have manpower. And that's been an issue pretty much with everybody hiring people. So I just didn't have the time to do it myself. I'm busy running the museum 7 days a week. And that's why when I moved to this building, I resigned from town politics, being commissioner, mayor. Just it's a non-paid job in politics. It's a little tiny town, but to do it right, I mean, it's a full-time job. You're dealing with employees. I'm dealing with businesses coming in. I'm dealing with utilities, street lights, potholes. I mean, you name it, a little bit of everything. The town cemetery. I mean, people dying, making sure the plots. It's always something. I mean, constant stuff, and it was a lot of work. And I enjoyed it. I'm happy I did what I did. We helped turn the town around, bring a lot of business in, bring in a lot of money from Build Back America money and stuff like that to do a lot of infrastructure. But that's why I said, I think I left everyone in a good position. I feel comfortable moving on, but I need to work on my building, and that's what I've been kind of concentrating on. And now I'm kind of feeling dismayed that we might have to just pack up and walk away from what we just put a year of blood, sweat, and tears in.
Absolutely.
So
and if you guys are interested in
knowing what the future is.
If you guys are interested in helping out, remember the GoFundMe link is in the show notes of this episode, wherever you're listening or watching, as well as in the comments section if you're on YouTube or Facebook. We have a question here for you. Lee would like to know, what is the craziest story that you've ever heard, but that you still think is true?
On the crypto world, or just everything together? I'll do a paranormal one. It was kind of interesting. This one, actually, I lived myself. I was doing a documentary on actually started off in New Jersey for the New York Daily News. It was for the Jersey Devil. And I was down there. My boss was really cool at the time, Gretchen, and she gave me the okay for, I think it was 2 days, 2 nights. We had a little budget, go down and film this thing. And unfortunately, the person I had to interview was one of the Leeds family relatives, and he wasn't around because it was a sickness in the family. I don't remember exactly what the issue was, but so like my main interview was like dead in the water. And so I was scratching up some other people and doing some interviews and just kind of like getting the lay of the land. And be honest with you, I didn't do as much homework as I probably should have done on that one. I knew the story well. I just, as far as just, who to talk to, and I should have went down did a day trip, checked it out, and then went back down. I didn't do that. Anyway, but when I was down there, I was getting phone calls to my desk. And you got to remember, I ran the Long Island sections. I was doing Nassau, Suffolk County. And at that time, Lindsay Lohan was still going through all the craziness and stuff that she was doing. So I get a call to go, Lindsay Lohan's back in town. You got to go back. I was like, geez, I'm down here. Let me do this. Send someone else. No, they know you. You got to go, So I was friends with her father, Michael Lohan. Still am. So I call Michael, and Michael tells me, no, they're in Manhattan at the George Washington Hotel. I think it was Dina, the wife's birthday. And so he tells me he's on some show and we should do a piece on him and stuff. But basically kind of tells me it's not, he knew I was Long Island. He knew it wasn't my turf. So I'm able to call the desk and go, no, not my problem. Someone else in Manhattan. And so it gives me a little bit of breathing room. But by the next day, I knew they weren't going to know where she was. If they were still in Manhattan, they're going back out to Long Island. So I knew I was going to get chased back there. So anyway, I ended up packing up, so I couldn't spend all the time I wanted there. Typical life of doing that kind of work. But while I was there, I got these really, really cool stories on the paranormal stuff. And there's some people, there's actually a paranormal group there. So I talked to them and kind of interviewed them too. I went back, talked to my boss. She apologized. They pulled me out of there. And I couldn't do the thing. And I said, I'd like to repitch it as a paranormal piece. She goes, whatever you want to do, carte blanche. So we figured it all out and went back down there. And we did this piece, and you can look it up. It's called Speaking to Ghosts in Smithville. Now, the interesting thing is I went down there, I filmed, did a lot of ghost hunting. I got a lot of good interviews and a lot of crazy stuff. And it was pretty well. And I actually ran into these 2 women that were psychic sensitives and I interviewed them a little bit. And then went back to do my normal 7-day-a-week job. And I was in Manhattan sitting down with the video crew. And we're just going through what I had. I had a ton of footage. So we're playing it back. And she's going, it'd be nice if you can get this, that, and the other thing. I said, you want me to run back? It's New Jersey. So it's, from where I lived, it was probably a 3-hour trip. It wasn't terrible. So I agreed to go back down, spend another night. Now the budget's tight. So I'm not going to stay at Smithville. I stayed at the red carpet down the road, which is kind of funny. This is a divey place. But I set up lights and stuff. And I'm going to interview both the sensitives, have them come in. So I interviewed this woman, Paula, day 1. The next day, the other woman was coming in. And so basically, I'm killing time. So I go back and I'm shooting more B-roll. And while I'm going through town, I come across this little store. It's called an Angel Shop. And I walk in there, and I've got my, I'm behind the camera. I'm carrying a camera. I got a press pass on. I got wires and headphones on. And so I go up to the woman and say, I'm Steve with the New York Daily News. We're doing this documentary on paranormal stuff in Smithville. And she goes, I can't talk to you now. I can't talk. You have to wait. You have to wait. And it's like, I'm kind of freaked out. I said, no, it's okay. It's just, she goes, I don't know who told you. I said, nobody told me. I just somehow missed your shop last time I was here. So I'm killing time. This guy that's one of the person in the shop kind of looks at me like, great, you put me on the pressure. So he leaves. So I walk back up to this woman who's Lisa, her name. And so Lisa's kind of combative. And she goes, I don't know who told you about this. I said, nobody did. I just walked in. And she starts telling me about she used to be in another building and she just recently moved to this one. And that there was a spirit in the building that was pushing them down the stairs, pulling her hair, even harassing her daughter, all these different stories. So it was like some of the best stuff I've heard of all the interviews I've done there. So I want to interview and she doesn't want to talk on camera. So I'm explaining to her this would be good for your business. I'll spray the outside so they'll know to come in. And she's selling angel stuff. So I figured it'd be right up the alley. I finally get her to agree to talk, but she wasn't, I get the world's biggest recorder now. So it's literally, I've just got the microphone in her face and she's trying to tell me stuff. And she's not comfortable on camera or even on mic. So I call up Nina, the other woman that's coming down. Nina says, I'm like 20 minutes out. And I explain to her, I got this woman I want you to meet too. And Nina's sensitive. So I go out and meet her at the parking lot. I walk her back in, and she meets this woman, Lisa. And Nina won't even go into the building. Just kind of sticking her head in the door. And she goes, we need to get away from this woman. She's got a negative entity attached to her. So it's like, I don't care. I just want to film this. I want to get her. So we got the okay to go back to her old building, which is still vacant. That's how recently she was out of there. And the owner opened it up for us. So we go over there now. It's still daylight. So we have to shut the air conditioner off, ceiling fans, so we don't have all this ambient noise. It was a pretty hot New Jersey day. And we're filming in this. And Nina's kind of setting up. And she's literally just walked in. This is not what she's there. She's there to be interviewed just about what happened the week before, or 2 weeks before, whatever it was. And so I've kind of thrown her into this. So she's talking. I'm kind of giving her some information on what little bit I have in this building. Well, we're doing this now. 5 o'clock, the canned music in the village stops, and most of the shops stop. So we see this woman, Lisa, walk by. So I tell Nina, she's walking by. She's got to be interested. See if you can get her in. Goes out, talks to her. She comes in. I've got one camera shooting this building. She sits on the floor, kind of in front, side saddle, and just sits there, dead quiet. So Nina's kind of grabbing stuff, and I'm kind of figuring like, okay, I got to talk to this woman and try to explain to her we're going to do an interview, but she doesn't seem to be, apt to really want to talk on camera. While she's sitting there, all of a sudden she starts rocking, and then getting into this really intense rock. I was like, I'm just looking at her like, what the hell is this? All of a sudden she sits up straight and starts talking like a little child, and just, it's just, she becomes another person. I'm just freaked out. I'm going, oh my God, what the heck did I just get myself into here? I mean, this woman's a full-blown psychotic or whatever. Nina walks over, starts talking to her, and they're communicating. Like, who are you? What's your name? And she's just being this little girl. It was the strangest thing. And so this goes on for about a good 20 minutes, probably maybe 25 minutes. It was hot in there. And finally, she comes out of it. Nina's trying to make the spirit or whatever is go to the other side. So anyway, this woman, Lisa, comes out of it. We take her outside now because it's cooler outside. And we're talking to her, and she doesn't recall any of this. So I literally play back the camera to show her what she was doing. And she's not that thrown. If you would show me, that I was, talking in tongues, dunk me in holy water, take me for a CAT scan, and it kind of blew me away. Well, she comes back in. Now it's getting dark. So she agrees to go. You got to remember, this is her old shop, her old building. We go up to the second floor where she had all this activity was happening. We go up there, set up. We light some candles and stuff. I get some, get some ambient lighting, so at least I can film. And up there, she channels 2 more people, both being men. It was just the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. I was freaked out. I mean, I was like totally uncomfortable. I felt like I was filming The Exorcist. And so we wrap it up at the end of the day. Now, this woman, Lisa, who was very combative all day, I swear when I walked into her shop, she had something attached to her then, like just like Nina said. She's like this pleasant woman. Like she's the mom who wants to go home and check on her kids or her mom and all this other stuff. So anyway, we go up to this restaurant up front, Fred and Ethel, where the owner is. And we tell him, like, you can wrap up the building. I don't want to tell him, oh, by the way, this woman you rent to, channel spirits. And I have a little bit of a expense account. So we're getting some burgers, and I'm just drinking a couple of beers, like, what the hell? And everyone's kind of talking. And then this woman, Lisa, says, I got to go. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow, Steve, and all that. And she leaves. I look over at Nina and go, what the hell did we just film? I was just totally blown away. And she's telling me how rare this is to have someone channel something, let alone channel 3 people in a row. And then they obviously document the whole thing on film. So it's pretty freaky. If you watch it, it's the way it's ended up is very family friendly. But I have all the original footage too. It was crazy. Well, I'm sitting there. The owner comes over. We explain to him. And basically, it's kind of the funny part of the story, which is really not necessary. I realize, I look at Nina and go, damn, I got an interview. That's why you're here. Now it's like midnight. So we got to run down to the hotel where I'm at where the lights are set up. I got to interview her there and then finally get that all done. But it was just kind of crazy. But that kind of blew me away. That was, and I remember going back to back into Manhattan, sitting at the video desk, and we're playing this. And she goes, look at me like, did you stage this? I go, no, I never met these people. I knew Nina from the day before. I just literally walked in this woman, and people just freaked out over it. But that was pretty cool. That was a pretty unique one. So I don't know if that's what they're asking. It's not like a story someone told me. It's a story I lived that was really strange.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
And you can see it. You can go. It's on the. It should be on my YouTube channel. And if you just Google "Speaking to Ghosts of Smithville," you might have to put New York Daily News in there. It'll definitely pop up. But that was the first paranormal piece we did for the Daily News, and it was super. That was #1 on the Daily News webpage for 3 days straight. They came back to me after that and said, "What else do you have?" You know, they're blown away by it. I said, "How about Bigfoot and Whitehall, New York?" They go, "We're not too comfortable with that, but you seem to know what you're doing." So they gave me the okay on it. So I was off to the races. But then management changed, and that's when things changed, and the newspaper business was dying. And shortly after that is when I actually had to. I ended up leaving New York and actually coming down here, semi-retiring here. And having no idea I'd end up in Bigfoot Central and running a museum, or let alone, being commissioner, mayor, and that sort of thing. You never know where life's going to take you.
Awesome. Absolutely, man. All right. Well, we are out of time. I want to get this last video in here really quick. It's really short. The one that you sent me with the cat.
Oh, the cat. Yep.
Yep. So if you want to set that up real quick, and then we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll do a short intro on this. Basically, I did a documentary there. I was there 2 days, 2 nights. I didn't know anything about a cat dying in this room. I was interviewing Sal, who's since passed, unfortunately, and a couple of people that worked there telling their stories. And then we did a paranormal investigation. I had that same woman, Nina, come up and help me on this one. And so basically, it was kind of like a follow-up of the one we did for Smithville. But it was interesting. About a month later, I'm busy doing a bunch of other stories on Long Island. So I'm trying to edit this video. And the last thing I had to go through was a DVR system. I had 16 cameras, like 18 hours of footage. It takes forever. And you're going to see this thing walks across the hallway and goes into this room. After I get this is when I send it to Sal. And he tells me that, he tells me, "Oh, you got my cat." I said, "What cat? You didn't tell me." And then basically he had a cat that died in that room like 3 years earlier. And I didn't know anything about it. So it was kind of crazy. So that was the claim to fame. The New York Daily News caught the Shanley Hotel ghost cat. So.
Wow. Awesome. If you are listening to this on a podcast system, I suggest that you pause it here and head on over to the 1 hour 7 minute mark on YouTube on the Untold Radio Network, and you can watch this video along with us. Here we go.
And I had a cat for close to 13, 14 years. And when I had lived in the other house, I used to let the cat out at night, and the cat would come back during the day. But when I moved into the hotel, the cat refused to go out. And I couldn't get the cat to come into my apartment. For some reason, the cat wouldn't come into that room. And the minute I bring it into the room, she'd take right out the door. So I started feeding her outside in the hallway. And she would roam the building. Then after a while, she started going up to the 3rd floor. And she would come down to the 2nd floor, she would eat, and she'd go back up to the 3rd floor. Then after a couple of months, she refused to come down off the 3rd floor. And she would stay in Claire's room. And we picked up an EVP one night of Claire saying that it was her cat.
Very cool. That is awesome. That is an awesome piece of evidence right there. Very good, man. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all these stories. And this is awesome. I highly recommend, guys, if you are anywhere in the North Carolina area, go down and check out the museum. Like you said, you're coming up on the end of the season for mainly museum stuff now, but go out and take one of the tours or something, and just kind of support this as much as you can, and wherever this adventure leads for you guys down there, I hope all the best for you. And like I said, we got the GoFundMe link is in the show notes wherever you're watching this or listening to it on the podcast or on YouTube, and it is in the comments section on all your platforms as well. So again, I couldn't find a website for this. I found the Facebook page and I put that in the show notes. Do you have a website for the museum, or where can people find more information?
/.org, but it's not very updated. Okay. We didn't use it for so long, and my daughter was the one that managed it. And for the life of me, I can't. I have all kinds of problems getting into it. So we're actually going to create another website. Okay. I'm going to see if we can, or maybe we can salvage that. I got a guy that came in that's going to try to help us. I'm computer literate, but to an extent. Then I fall off a cliff.
Awesome. Well, very good, man. I got the links up in the show notes, like I said, for you. So if you guys get a chance or have a couple bucks, throw it your way. And whether it be to purchase your building or find a new one or just kind of help you get through this, um, all the best to you, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for letting us talk here. And I apologize if I'm long-winded. That's what I do when I start talking.
It's a podcast. That's what we're here for.
Come on by, folks. Yeah, we're still going to be here a little bit, and hopefully we're going to be here forever. Hopefully we can work things out.
Awesome. Well, I hope you do, man. I hope so. All right. Thank you so much for being on the show today, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. I hope that you guys, if you got a couple bucks, you can throw them their way at the Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum in Littleton, North Carolina. If you're in that area, head on out. It sounds like there's Bigfoot just right outside the door, pretty much. So if you're going down there, go Bigfooting, go investigating, go look for some paranormal, and definitely check out the museum. Hit up their little shop and gift shop and take home some goodies for you, because any little bit helps. And guys, coming up next week, we have Susan Laughlin Perez on the show. She is the head of the SEMO Bigfoot Research Organization. That's the Southeast Missouri Bigfoot Research Group. And she is going to be coming on talking about Bigfooting 101 and all Bigfoot activity in Southern Missouri. So until next time, guys, I'm your host, Barnaby, and I'll see you on the edge.